Hey everyone, how's it going? David Young here, Root Patel. We are live. This is actually live. So you may have heard that we're doing a live replay watching party. So we gave a training on Tuesday night, 2 nights ago, and I know a lot of people couldn't make it, and some people had trouble with the audio and couldn't see. So we figured, let's replay it. Let's use a different streaming methods. We're using YouTube Live and Facebook Live. And what me and Root are going to do is we actually clipped the training to just the actual training part. We're going to play it for you here, and me and Root are going to hang out in the chat so we can answer your questions as you're watching it, because it's kind of hard for us to talk and type at the same time. So we'll play it. We'll be there to answer your questions as you're watching it. And then after that, in the live thing, we did Q&A. So what we're going to do is actually we answered their questions, but we will come back on here live, and then we'll answer your questions so you don't have any more questions. Also, you may be aware that we are doing, we're launching our mapping and modeling course, the fundamentals version of that course that Root instructed and I'm an instructor in. And so I'm going to tell you a little bit about that, something we're doing, like a 6-week cohort groups for people who want to go through that. So I'll just walk through that schedule with you if that's something you're interested in joining up in. But otherwise, we'll get started. Just know there's about a 10-second delay from when you type something to what I see. So if I don't answer you right away, give us a second and we'll get to it. All right. I feel like we're watching a movie together, so this should be fun. So throw your questions our way, and let's get started here. Hello, everyone. Welcome to 3 Secrets to 6 Figures in Drone Mapping with my good friend here, Mr. Root Patel. Root, thanks for joining us in today's webinar.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah. So if you know Root, say hi in the chat. Say, I know Root. He said a couple of his friends are joining today. Some of you may know Root from our Drone to 1K podcast. Some of you may know Root just because he's such a boss in the drone industry. But Root is a good friend of mine. We've become good friends working together for the last year or so in Drone Launch. He's one of our guest instructors. He teaches our mapping course. So I'm excited for him to share today with lessons he's learned in building his 6-figure drone mapping company. I say drone mapping, but really he has an engineering company that he's developed where he uses drones. It's kind of expanded into other things. So Root, why don't you just give a real quick introduction of yourself, your company, and things like that.
Sure. Hello, everybody. My name is Root Patel, and I'm the president of Voyager Industries. Voyager is an engineering company that uses drones and artificial intelligence and other robots to solve problems for energy, agriculture, and infrastructure industries. Mainly services we provide is inspection services, 3D modeling, 3D mapping. Sometimes we go above and beyond. And if technology doesn't exist, we create the technology, such as using drones for gas detection, bathymetric surveys, using drones for ground penetrating radar. So just
a bunch of complicated stuff you've probably never heard of.
Yeah, but the using drones as a center and providing engineering services with it.
Cool. Actually, I forgot to flip my flipboard here. It was supposed to say, who is Root? And that's what he was supposed to say during that section. So anyways, say hi in the chat. If you haven't already, let us know where you're coming from. We had a lot of people sign up for this webinar, over 1,000 people registered. So excited to see who all attends. I know that not everyone can attend since right now we're doing this live at 1 p.m. Eastern time. However, I've got about 1,000 messages saying, David, I can't make it. I have to work, or I have something else going on, or I live in, on the other side of the world. Is there going to be a replay? So yes, we're going to send out a replay link, but we're going to do you one better. I just told our marketing person, Audrey, that we'll do a live replay, if that makes sense, Thursday night at 8 p.m. Eastern. So we're going to take this recording. This is what you may be watching now. We're going to take a recording of this. We're going to play it at 8 p.m. Eastern. I got to figure out where yet and how to do this. But I will be there live in the chat. I'm going to see if Root can join me too. That way, if you're asking questions during the presentation, we can give you live answers right there. It's not going to just be a full recording. And then at the end of that presentation, we'll turn that screen off and we'll come on live and can answer any other questions that you have. So it'll be the best of both worlds if you weren't able to make the original webinar. So you may be watching on Thursday right now, so welcome. But right now it is Tuesday and you're here live, so we're excited to have you. The way this is going to work is Root is going to share 3 things. It's kind of 3 secrets, 3 lessons he learned that he didn't really think he was going to learn when he started his career in drone mapping. He does this full-time for his business. He's got several full-time employees, or at least 2 employees. One's full-time. So he has a full company and support staff doing work with drones. So it's really inspiring to see that a lot of people get inspiration from Root's story. So he's going to share a little bit of that with you. He's going to talk about 3 real key lessons that he learned that helped him get to where he is. We'll take some questions. And then we're going to tell you about a new course we're launching. A lot of people have asked about our mapping course. So we taught that live over the summer with a group of people. We've then since done a studio recording of it. We'll get into it more later, but we have some fun stuff to announce about that at the end of this webinar for anybody who's interested. If you're not, no worries. We're going to talk about just mapping advice for the first chunk. And then after that, we're going to stick around and we can continue to answer any questions you have about mapping or modeling or drones or whatever. You have questions for Root, we will do that. If you're having any issues with the feed, just try to refresh your app. If your audio is weird, video is weird, just refresh and hopefully it should be good and come back. All right.
Wonderful.
So thank you all for joining. If you have questions, write them in here. I'm going to try not to look at the chat because it's distracting while we're in the middle of it. But if you have questions, throw them in there. Audrey's in the chat. She'll mark it as a question or she can reply to you. And we'll go back at the end and I'll start working through some questions. Okay. So Root, you told us a little bit about yourself, Voyager Industries. There's I think maybe tell us about how you got started initially. Like you came over here from India, right? And
yes.
Tell us a little bit about that. And then right after you tell us that, I think that'll lead us into secret number 1.
Sure. So I came from India in 2015. I was born and raised there. We waited 18 years to come to America. In 2015, when I turned 19, we finally got the visa approved and me and my parents got to come to America. But when I came to America, I did not start in drone industry right away. First, I had a couple of jobs. I had to do whatever I had to do to save money to start the business I wanted to start it. And those jobs were working at Dairy Queen, selling ice cream, cleaning, working at the warehouse, just kind of doing those jobs. And that kind of allowed me to learn English in America and saved enough money to start my business. And I was able to start my business within 2 years. So, but that 2 years in America, 2015 to 2017, I used this as an opportunity to learn English, learn about the people, learn about the culture, understand the business. There was some things I learned about the drone technology, but not a lot because I do have a background into drone technology and robotics before I came to America. So when I was in India, I always been into technology, always loved the things that flew, always had a passion with the aviation. So I always knew that when I grow up, I'm going to do something with the things that fly. And it was just a perfect timing. When I was in India, I made a drone. For that, I got selected in India's top 40 for innovations. But the timing was bad because I got to come to America right after that. So kind of had to put that project on a hold. But that 2 year allowed me to put together a whole business plan, the plan of action to start the business. And we started full time using drones for problem solving. First, we started the real estate. And because I had such a passion in solving problem, I started into getting more into engineering work and just the curiosity how I can use this tool that I have a passion for to turn into profit and actually solve problems with it.
Awesome. Before we click to the next point, I have some people saying that video is blurry. Let's try a different one. So this is actually the nicer camera, but I wonder if this camera will get the light better. Does this look better to you guys? If so, I'll use this one and I'll move it over. I think we'll do that. We'll do this. Root, you scoot over. All right.
All right.
We'll leave that there. Okay, cool. We're going to use that. All right. Well, yeah, sorry. We got the lights on in this room, but we're going to keep going here. Hopefully this is better for you guys. Okay. So secret number 1 for Root, right? So it's focus on, and I'll read it, right? So focus on solving these problems. So what do you mean by these problems? I think let's talk about how you initially got into drones, and how you first started off with your jobs and how that kind of didn't really satisfy what you were hoping to do.
Sure. So when I was working at Dairy Queen, I was ready to quit those jobs because I already had a plan. I have already saved $10,000 to buy my drone and start a business. So I was ready to do that. But when I quit those jobs, I quickly realized that there is so much noise out there and there is not actual way to make money. Like, so I got into the lowest hanging fruit, which was the real estate at that time, using drones to take a picture of the real estate. But quickly realized that it doesn't have, it has a lot of values in it, but it does not satisfy me for hunger to solve problem. So that's why I realized, how can I use this? Because there's so much thing that you can do with the drone. So I'm like, okay, I always had a dream to own an engineering company, started being an engineer, but I unfortunately did not went to engineering school. I went for 1 year and I dropped out. So I decided this is the perfect opportunity to lead into that. I can always hire an engineer later, but this is a good way to start. So that's how I got into, because the passion was about solving those problems.
Gotcha. So you were doing real estate stuff. You worked with another local drone company here
Correct.
first, right? And then what kind of work were you doing with him?
Sure. So as soon as I quit the job at Dairy Queen, I started calling a bunch of different people like, oh, can you hire me? I would love to learn. I'm not trying to make any money, but just want to ask you a couple of questions, just trying to shadow you on the job. What do you do? How you do it? And a gentleman here in Lakeland named Adam, he owns a drone elevation, and he hired me to be his assistant and use my drones to take picture of the real estate photography. And when we were doing that, I did for a couple of months, I learned about the industry. But at that time, the Hurricane Irma came. And then I quickly realized this is the time for me to make a jump from real estate to actually doing engineering. So first, when the Hurricane Irma came, next day, I started hitting up all the roofing companies to provide my services about using drones for roof inspection. And they were like, sure, we would love to try. I faced many rejection during that time, but few companies were able to understand what I was trying to say. And that time my English was much worse than I have right now. So they were trying to understand what I was trying to say and how I can help them. So few companies took a risk to hire me, and then they realized, oh no, this guy is very profitable to hire. So that's how I took a jump into the roof inspection. And then I got later on, we got the engineers involved, and that leads to doing inspection for utility companies in Pennsylvania, Ohio, using cell tower inspection, working on a fire prevention project in California. So using drones to inspect power lines that lead to solar farm and so many different avenues, agriculture, one after another, just because the passion was about solving those problems, not just using the equipment.
I know there's a lot of people out there too. I hear this a lot from people. You have, it seems kind of two camps, right? You have some people who really love the creative side. So maybe they're doing photography, landscapes, real estate, or they're doing video production for businesses or car dealers or different things like that, right? But then you have some people that are just like, I don't really want to worry about editing videos, or I don't love like doing photography necessarily. I like the data stuff and kind of getting into more numbers and analysis. And so, it seems like you went through a similar type of
True
thought process and transition. And so I think, there's really two sides of that. And when you were talking to me about all these inspection things you were doing, I was asking, well, how much did you do mapping? And he's like, oh yeah, actually use the mapping to do all these different, pieces of analysis and inspections and all the agriculture stuff. Mapping concepts and the ability to create orthomosaic imagery and maps with drones kind of permeated all of your jobs, right?
That's correct. We basically use mapping for almost everything, even doing the roof inspection. We use mapping, doing the inspection of the power line. Some part was related to mapping. I think mapping is just like a fundamental for drones that you use to, it's like what do you add on it, you know? That's very basic that you need to understand to survive in the drone industry, other than taking pictures. Right.
So the secret number is focus on solving these types of problems and you won't have to compete on price. So the secret is focus on solving bigger problems that other people can't solve, right? If you're just going around and throwing a drone in the air and taking some photos, really anybody can solve that problem, can do that. Therefore, you're not going to really be able to charge whatever you want. You're going to be, that's when everybody says the race to the bottom, right? They're referring to the jobs where you are just literally throwing a drone in the air, capturing some pictures and coming back down. Like, drones are not that hard to fly. That's an easy thing to do. So learning skills beyond that and being able to get insights and other data. So, you know, what Root was doing, like going out of identify what roofs were damaged, to then work with the homeowners and the roofers or the insurance companies to be able to pinpoint, hey, these are the exact damage spots.
Yes.
Here's where you need to focus. Like, that's the extra stuff that allowed him to make money, not just the fact of throwing the drone in the air, right?
Absolutely. So focusing on problem, the problem might depend on industry, or also might depend on the client you're working with directly. Because sometimes, even if your clients are in the same industry, let's take for an example for a utility company, right? Just because the utility company in California dealing with the problem, the utility companies in Florida dealing with the same problem, you can provide your services to both companies. One company might be able to hire you, one company will not, because you are just generally talking about the problem they're having. I'm talking about going one step further and understanding each individual client's problem and kind of coming up with the solution with the technology you have available and focusing on that. And whenever your clients see that, they realize, okay, they are taking one step further, rather than now you are not just a service provider, but you problem solver.
Right,
and that's what client wants to work with.
Yep. Focus on solving real tangible problems. And something cool I was going to say, you know, Root talked about mapping out neighborhoods and identifying roof damage, and you've moved on from that, but you still do some of that. And actually, I just found this out. I didn't even know this. Root ended up hiring 4 drone pilots out of our summer course that we did, where he taught mapping and modeling. There was 4 people that went through that. He ended up hiring them to go out and do mapping jobs for him in that same thing, mapping out neighborhoods and working with getting roof data and things like that. So I just thought that was really interesting, kind of came full circle, people able to apply that mapping knowledge that they're learning to, I thought that was really cool. All right, so if you don't want to compete on price, you got to level up and figure out how to solve better problems. Secret number 2 is K is greater than E. K is greater than E, and we're going to talk about it specifically in a minute. But Root, I know you have a story to share that will illustrate this.
Sure.
It involves sadness and pain.
Absolutely. There is not a story without sadness and pain. I think we all need that. So I feel like if you haven't gone through, figure out a complete way to go through pains, and so you can get over it. But to explain my pain, so when I started the business, I had $10,000, and $5,000 to $6,000 I spent on just buying the drone.
And that was money you had saved up from Dairy Queen, working at a pharmacy warehouse, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, yes. Working 18 hours a day nonstop for 2 years, and saved some money. And I bought this drone, and I was flying, and you know, when drone is a thing that you crash a lot. So I crashed that.
Hopefully not, but it does happen.
Hopefully not, but I have crashed tons of drones, just part of.
All right, I think we're back. Sorry about that, everyone. All right. So you crashed, you saved up 10 grand, you spent 5 or 6 on a Inspire, and then you were flying it. And what happened with your Inspire?
I was doing some roof inspection when the Hurricane Irma came, and I ran into a tree and I crashed it. And I realized, like, I don't have any equipment to make money. I quit my job, and I don't have money to buy another equipment.
Was that your only drone?
That was the only drone that I used. Our own fleet of drones, we make drones, but that was the only one. And I realized it's not actually about the equipment, it's about the knowledge. So Mavic, they just came out like that.
The original Mavic?
Original OG Mavic, $800 or $900 that time. So okay. I gathered that money to buy that drone, finished those jobs, and I probably made out of that project, I made about $20,000. Then I realized K is greater than E. Knowledge is greater than equipment, because it's what you do with the data that you have. It's what you do with the knowledge you have. You know, you can give data to someone, you can give information to someone, but you cannot give knowledge to someone. You have to use the data and information to be able to gain the knowledge.
Right.
What equipment does, it just collects the data. But what do you do with that data and information that you collected? Use your knowledge to solve those problems. That's why knowledge is very important than the equipment. I was able to do the similar kind of work, not as accurate, not as precise work as the Inspire, but it allowed me to kind of flow through that. And then I was able to purchase it again and continue solving those problems.
Right. A lot of people who may be new, or maybe they are not new, but they think, oh, if I want to get into this, I'm going to have to buy the super equipment. It's going to cost $10,000, $20,000, really expensive. People just seem to think that since they have a less powerful drone, that they're therefore totally out of the running for any of this kind of stuff. And that's not true. You know, like Root was saying, he had a multi-$1,000, what is it, $5,000 Inspire, crashed it, was able to then buy a $800 drone to replace it and made $20K with the $800 drone. So it's much more important. And you could have a $20,000 drone and make $0 with it if you don't know how to actually process maps, how to actually get analysis, how to find the customers, all these things, right? So your knowledge and you're willing to just kind of learn and take action is going to trump your equipment any day of the week.
Yeah. So to gain more knowledge, I would say gather as much data about the industry that you want to work in, gather as much as information about that industry, and try to understand the problem they're dealing with, that industry. Not just, okay, I have a drone and I'm going to present to you, this is what I can do. Clients are not interested in that. They're interested in direct action. Like, if I hire you, what's in for me? What am I going to get? Are you going to save me time or save me money? Or are you going to make the speed faster? That's going to ultimately save me time and money. Right. So it's focusing on their problem, focusing on their pain. Whatever their pain is becomes your pitch. So, and it depends on each client. So some company might have pain with their processes. Traditional methods are taking so long. Well, using drone, you can make it a lot faster. That's what I did with the roofing industry. That time when the Hurricane Irma came, a lot of the roofing was booming. It was sad for people to lose their roof, but roofing business were booming because a lot of roofs were damaged, and that's when it's time to put on a new roof. Well, to compete in that market where everyone is a lot of damage, what do? The quicker you do, make it faster. So I use drone to make roof inspection very fast and a lot safer, so they don't have to go on the roof, and very accurate than marking with the chalk. So I use that knowledge or the equipment. It's funny, I had $5,000 equipment that I did not make money with, but I have $800 equipment and make a bunch of money with. And because I gained the knowledge. That's why knowledge is very important than equipment. So don't get discouraged if you have a Mavic, or even if you don't have a drone right now. It's completely okay. You can always hire a drone service provider to perform that job, or you can rent an equipment. But if you don't know the knowledge or what you're going to do with it, it's going to be worthless. Yeah,
and a lot of people, they exclude themselves too. And knowledge is better than equipment, but you could also say knowledge better than, certifications, because an example, Root was out there hustling to get jobs. Landed a deal with a construction company to do their initial survey of where they were going to start building a site. And you might think, oh, well, you have to have a surveyor. You can't sign off a survey. Well, Root knew this. He still landed the job. Well, he just went out and hired a surveyor. He had met a guy at was it at a conference?
Conference.
Yeah,
yes.
Conference. Said, hey, I've got a job where I need an official survey stamp. I'm collecting the data. Can you just review the data with me? Make sure you're comfortable with it. Put your stamp on it. He said, sure. So he charged Root a fee. Root was the one who had the relationship with client, and Root made money on that survey job, even though he wasn't the one holding the license, because he knew that, hey, how I can get the data and who I need to bring in is more powerful equipment I have, And you have jobs now too, where you're about to go out and do big mining companies with equipment that you don't own, and you're just going to go rent it because you need it for this specific job, right?
Yeah. To explain the secret number 2 is one of the client we are working with right now. I cannot say the name, but I can say this: they're the world's biggest phosphate producing company, and they're based out of Florida. And the problem we are solving for them, when we approach them, they already have a whole drone team. They have a team of engineers. They have invested $500,000 into their drone team. They have the best equipment you can possibly buy, but they cannot solve that particular problem. The problem is the big mining equipment, they want to create a 3D model of those things. Well, they cannot figure out a way, even though they have all the resources, they cannot figure out a way because they're focused too much on the equipment. Where as a third party, as a problem solver, as an engineering company, we approached them that they had this specific problem. Every hour that equipment was down, it cost them $25,000. So we kind of focus on how do we reduce their downtime so they don't lose that much money. And we approached them with that particular problem. And when they saw the presentation, after the presentation, they told us, what you're presenting, what you are going to do, if we got the job, but they said, what are you about to do? It's been a dream for us for years. And it's crazy that you can accomplish this. So don't focus, and I don't even own those equipment. We are going to rent those equipment to do that particular job. But that's why it's important. Knowledge is important than equipment.
More important than equipment. Yep. Yeah, and there's probably a ton of more stories you could tell about this
too.
Yeah,
but absolutely.
I love the fact that literally this is something that's going on right now. They've invested tons of money into equipment, and then they go out and hire Root because he's got the knowledge. So that is K is greater than E. All right, so for our third tier, we'll keep it moving here. Again, if you have questions, throw them in the chat, and we will we'll get to them. And we'll get to them after we are done with this presentation here. Secret number 3 is educate, and this happens. So, Root, I know you have a story about a company who wanted to hire you to do just a real basic job and ended up turning into $8,000 of something else because you were able to educate them. So hit us with that story.
Sure. I have multiple stories to share. I'll try to share as many as I can. The first is I got an inbound call from this company. They're a company who manufactures the electrical line that goes underground. And they just had a huge area that they was spread out. Inventory was spread out. So they wanted to take a picture. So he called me like, hey, we would like you to take a picture of the drone because where our inventory is located. I'm like, sure, I can do that. So I went on the site to meet with the client, discuss what's going on. And then I saw the property is like huge, massive. And there is no way you can get one picture. Even if you get multiple pictures, you cannot see the entire thing. And I could have said it like, okay, I cannot do this job because it's such a big property, or I can take in multiple pictures. But to kind of, because I had a knowledge in mapping, okay, I kind of educated them. Okay, what you are saying is wonderful. I don't think it's legally doable. We can do it. We can take a lot higher and take a picture, but it's very dangerous. So there is a way around it, which we can create the orthomosaic, the entire property, and give you like all the details you need to know. And I can take it one step further, and we can also classify each inventory and give you a report because I understood what their need was. They just didn't want to take a pretty picture, but they wanted to use that picture to count their inventory and better manage. Like, okay, what are we gonna do if we have more inventory come? Where are we gonna put it? They want to do that
because they were these huge. They wrap them up in these huge coils, right? That are
huge
like
coils.
10 or 15 feet high. Yeah.
And there are hundreds and hundreds of coils and laid around. So we created the orthomosaic. If you don't know what orthomosaic is, it's a one big picture combines of hundreds or thousands of picture and put together, where you can do the measurements and see, kind of like a Google Map. Google Map is a massive orthomosaic of the world, but we are
but they use a satellite.
But we use drones, fly at much lower level, and take a picture, combine, make an orthomosaic map. And now they can count the inventory, look at the entire property at the same time in one picture, zoom in on any point, and they don't. It does not distort, or it's very accurate, very clear. So, and they loved it. And they're like, okay, well, we have more inventory come next week. Can you please do it again? Can you, 1 month, that job turned into multiple thousands of dollars a job, rather than I could have just taken pictures for $250 or $300, whatever your price is. But kind of understanding and educating them what can be done and what they can do with that data turned into a lot more profit. And I build a relationship with that client.
Yeah. So, I think this is a really prime example of a lot of people don't, when I say people, like industries out there, people in businesses, they don't know necessarily how drones work, how drones can help them. It's not like a tax accountant where,
Yeah.
I've got a problem with my taxes. I know who to call for that. I need to call a tax accountant. Sometimes they just know I've got these issues, and they don't know that drones are the answer or that orthomosaic images are the answer. I'll give you another example. This actually happened while we were developing the mapping course. I was sitting at Chick-fil-A. If you guys know me, I'm a big Chick-fil-A fan. I was sitting there with another employee for drone launch, George Casamichela. Some of you guys might have interacted with him. We're sitting out there. We're planning on the mapping course. My friend, who's the general manager at that Chick-fil-A, comes over. We start chatting, and he's talking about their drive-through. And he's like, our drive-through is crazy. It backs up into the street. We're trying to figure out like what we can do about it, how we can manage it. We're going to talk to corporate to see if they'll pitch in a little bit to build new like a new entrance point. But we're trying to plan it out. And that's all I said. And so I just probed a little bit. I wasn't like, buy our mapping service. I just said, how do you guys plan that out? Do you guys just walk around and look, or are you guys looking at like Google Maps or something? He's like, well, I looked at, Google Maps, the satellite view, but the imagery is so old, like they don't even have our new building on there, and they just put that on there, but it's not really that helpful. It doesn't really work for us. Like, have you ever thought about using a drone to like map it, how you can create maps and get really accurate measurements? He's like, no, I don't know anything about this. So I said, listen, you can do that. And he said, that's awesome. I'd love that, because we need to, even before I offered the drone thing, he said, we need to be able to know that a truck of a certain size can enter this way. So we have to know how much clearance we have on each side of the property and this and that. So he needed to know all this kind of information and play around with different layouts. And I was like, man, if you got a map up there and you did a drone map, an orthomosaic image, you could run out all these scenarios. You can do all these precise measurements. And he's like, oh, this is awesome. So he's like, let's do it. So we did one for him. But that just came from educating, like, hey, have you ever thought about this? Or did you know that? And I showed him pictures about what we were doing, just like Root was saying, being able to illustrate that for people. So it can happen in any conversation you come across, places you wouldn't even think.
I have one more story to share.
Go for it.
So this is for agriculture clients. In Florida, we have a lot of blueberries and oranges and other fruits that grow. But one of it's a blueberry, and one of the blueberry company reached out to us. They wanted to take a picture of their organic blueberry farm. They're developing a massive farms in Florida, 500 acres. So they were like, can you take a picture of our farm and see how things are going? Just kind of like keeping progress update using pictures. I said yes. And after we started doing that, then I quickly realized there is many ways we can help them. There is a lot of, by just talking to them, building the relationship, I kind of understood their problem they're dealing with. So I started doing research. I'm like, what can I do to help already they're paying me? What can I do? Not because I want to make more money with it, but just because how can we push this technology even further? How can we fully utilize it? So I offered a solution of doing the plant health analysis using drones. And I did a sample with them and they loved it. We were doing tree count them, and that lead to 2-year contract. And now we were just only doing progress update, but we were doing the irrigation system inspection underground. So we were using drone to fly with a camera, very low height, and just checking on the irrigation system underground, measure temperature, drones to do the count of the tree. So they know exactly how much inventory they have, so they can make a precise measurements of their crop, give the health analysis, how many plants are bad, how many needs nutrition, what kind of nutrition they need. It's more scientific work. I got other people involved in it. I'm not a genius when it comes to all that, but I am a genius in understanding the client problem, and I understood that properly, and that led us to multiple contract in the future. Yeah. So educate them, and that's what happens.
I love it. All right, everyone, we're here. Let me get that banner off of there. So that was the end of that live training. Those were the 3 secrets. I'm going to pull the comments up right now. I think we have been answering and addressing most of the comments as we've gone, but now it's time for live Q&A. So if you ask us something, we can throw it on the screen, and we'll address that. And so I give you some time to think of your questions and ask them. Actually, we have one here. Let me read it here. Okay. I'm gonna read. Oh wow, this is big. Hi. David, on that note, Chick-fil-A, what software setup did you use for gaining and putting a scale perspective on it so they could get accurate measurements? Did you lay a 5-inch long object on the ground, use a scale ruler, or how did you go about gaining that level of accuracy in the map? Is that covered in your mapping course? Excellent question. Yes, it is. Even if you laid a ruler on the ground, that would work, but it wouldn't be as precise with just one picture. Actually, with photogrammetry, that would be precise. You could do like that. There are ways to do references like that, and we encourage you to do that in the course as a check, but you don't have to have that in there. The software will automatically know the accuracy and the distance, and it knows that because of some formulas that happen in the software. We covered this all in the course, but it's called ground sampling distance. So it knows how high the drone is above the ground, and it does calculations to know what the field of view of the camera is, and it can do the math to figure out what the distance is on the ground, and it knows where all the GPS location of all the pictures. So it uses all that data to come up with the measurements, and what it actually does is it converts measurements into pixels, and what you're doing is actually measuring pixel to pixel inside of your map, and how accurate it can be depends on what's called your ground sampling distance. Not to get too technical, but basically the lower you fly and the better camera you fly with, the better picture quality you have, and the more accurate you can be and more precise you can be, down to even just a few centimeters. So hope that answers your question. But yes, we do cover all that in the course, and we even talk about, okay, how accurate do they need this to be? Let's check how can we make sure we can get that level of accuracy. We show you where to check that, and some of the math behind that. We don't get super mathy, but we show it to you in case you're really interested. Oops, I just removed myself. I meant to remove the comment. There we go. What was step one again? I'll put it up here. Step one was focus on solving these problems, and you won't have to compete on price. The main point was, and you can jump in if you want. Yeah, go ahead.
So the number one step was focus on problem solving, not focus on providing the service to a company. If you are really, and that's how you really get into mapping is, if you're just offering a service, mapping service, a lot of for a lot of clients it gets very hard to decide if they need your service or not. But if you're offering some kind of solution that includes mapping, just to give you an example, as we talked in the video, not only focus on just like what a client say, of course focus on what clients say if they're looking for a picture, but also look for the better way you can solve the problem they're having. Really listen to their needs, what they're really needing, and it makes it a lot easier for you to sell that way.
Yeah, and one thing I was going to add, just that I've seen as I'm roots in the trenches, and I'm able to observe a lot of different drone companies. And I notice a lot of beginners and newbies, they focus on, well, I have a drone and I can fly and take pictures for you, and they think that's where the value is. And really, if you don't want to compete on price like Root, you have to be able to do more than just flying a drone. Like, a drone is just one piece of the puzzle. It's just one tool. You have to know how to, solve the problem. So if the client, for instance, says, hey, I need to know precise measurements to take the Chick-fil-A thing, for example. If the client needs to know, hey, I need to know precise measurements down to an inch, how much room I have between here and here, and I need to be able to measure the elevation of this. If you say, well, I can take a picture of it, you can't solve the problem with that. But if you know how to take that picture, process it through some software, give them some elevation models, and tag a map for them and showing some different options, well, now you've done something that not as many drone pilots can do. Like, you can't go buy a drone at Best Buy and then do what I just described. So you have to develop those additional skills, and then you're competing with a lot less people. So, yeah, anything else to add?
No, right. You correct accurately.
How do you set up Pix4D for terrain awareness? I think I haven't used Pix4D capture, but at least in Drone Deploy and in Drone Link, there's just a checkbox. You can say, yes, I want it on, or no, I want it off. Typically, you either pick, I want to fly the drone at 200 feet AGL, and the reference point is where you took off from, or if you uncheck that and you do the terrain awareness, it'll follow
the terrain.
Follow the terrain, but it's based on the data they have. It's not actually visually looking down.
Yes, and if you're flying like a very low, for example, for some agriculture process, you have to fly your drone very low, and to do that, the terrain awareness, there is the additional device that goes on your drone. It's called altimeter. It actually measures the distance from the ground and the drone, and it does it. But I think it's more for like very advanced applications.
Yeah, so that sounds like a lot better. I do know there's a feature just in Drone Deploy where they'll they use basically just like satellite data.
Yes.
So it's like the general terrain elevation. So I don't know how accurate it is. They say like, hey, keep an eye on your drone because this is just based on the satellite data, so it could be off. Root and I were both in Lakeland. This is our office space.
Lakeland, Florida.
Lakeland, Florida. Sweet. SW squad fan. Yeah, I'm gonna walk through that in just a second. I'm gonna answer a couple questions here, and then I'm gonna walk you through kind of the 6-week cohorts we're doing and give you some more details on that if that's something you're interested in doing. All right, we actually got a couple questions for the mapping course. Let's just do that now. Hold on. I'll walk you guys through that, and then we'll come back. So let me share some slides here. Give me 1 second to upload them for you. I just got them here. So this is showing you week by week. So what we're doing this time is you can get the course and you can just go through it at your own pace. You don't have to stay with anybody. You don't have to do anything like anything else. But I noticed that whenever we did a live class, one of the things that people enjoyed the most out of almost anything else was interacting with other students that are going through the material at the same exact time. And so they're like, hey, can I, who else is in the course? They wanted to meet. They would do Zoom calls. They would do this. They would chat with each other. So we thought, you know what, let's organize it this time. So what we're doing is we're offering a cohort option 2. Cohort just means groups. So what we're going to do is we're going to group people into groups of no more than 15 per group. And those are going to be your buddies. All right. So you're going to have your own private chat area. Because we notice also sometimes people feel stupid asking like a question in a group with several hundred or dozens of people in it. They don't want to look like an idiot. They're like, I don't know, I should know this. But if it's a group of 15 people that you video chatted with before, you feel less awkward about it. So we want people to feel comfortable, have close people they can bounce things off of. So you'll be in a group of 15. You'll have weekly calls that you're encouraged to be on. You don't have to, it's for your benefit. So you'll go through the videos together. So hey, you'll have an assignment. Week 1, watch these sections, do these assignments, and then you're gonna meet in your groups to share what you did, work through any problems, help each other out, those types of things week by week for 6 weeks. So let me walk you through that real quick. Okay, I'm gonna turn this off. Hopefully you can see this. I'm gonna turn that banner off too. All right, so week 1, I'm doing this by section. I just screenshotted this straight out of the course curriculum, the syllabus, right? So first week you're going to do the welcome stuff, introduction, what's in the course, all that good stuff. And then you're going to do intro to photogrammetry. And we really dive into what it is, how it works, how that software is putting things together, explain why you need photogrammetry and can't just take a bunch of pictures from really high up. We get into all that. Then we give you a bunch of different sectors and industries where people are using it. We give you examples. Hey, in construction they do this, for forensics they do this, in agriculture they do this, right? We talk about some equipment. So that's the intro to photogrammetry. Then data acquisition fundamentals, that's the one on the right here. This is more important than you think. You think, oh, you just fly the drone up and it automatically takes a bunch of pictures. It's a garbage in, garbage out. So if you don't know how to understand where the accuracy is coming from, the quality of the camera, how to know what equipment to use, how to know how much overlap to use, why you need overlap, how the type of terrain you're taking a picture of impacts how much overlap you need, what altitude you need to fly. There's just so many, what grid pattern you should fly, the angle of the camera, that all impacts what your final model is going to look like. And so we dive into all that in the data acquisition fundamentals. So that's week 1, right? Week 2 is understanding client needs. So Root walks through how he approaches clients, how he talks to them. We actually do a mock call mimicking Root's very first client that he got. We have a green screen behind us. It gets pretty funny. I'm wearing a hard hat. So we had fun with that one. And then we do course mock projects. So for this course, we're like, hey, what's the best way to learn? The best way to learn is by doing. So we created a project based on like a real world type scenario. We're going to pretend we've been hired by these home builders to do certain reports and certain data gathering. So we went out and actually flew a mission, several missions over this big development they're making. And we're going to do all of our processing, our analysis, and our reports based on that. So like we're going to teach it to you, and then you're going to implement it in the real world. We're going to give you the data to use, and also have you practice kind of on your own house too. So you have multiple ways to do it. So that we tell you about the course project there, and we dive into pre-flight planning. So that is all about your mission prep checklist, how to check the weather, airspace, risk assessment. So that's week 2. All right, you go through that together. You do your assignments. You meet with your groups. Again, if you choose the cohort option. Week 3, and if you just buy the course and you don't do the cohort, you can go through it as fast as you want, but this is the order. Week 3 is creating your flight plan. Again, you might think, oh, that's a piece of cake, you just throw it up there, but there's more to it, right? So about automated flight plans, the difference between offsite versus on-site, and while we walk you through, we're going to use drone deploy, the free aspects of it. So creating a project, how much accuracy you need for the project, how to impact that, right? How much accuracy you're going to get. We're going to talk about creating a nadir flight plan. We're going to go through all the advanced settings, front lap, side lap, your altitude, and then we also show you the other software, Drone Link. It's basically the same in all software, just where the buttons are, so we just show you another example of something else. Then flying your mission and collecting your data. So we actually go out on site, we video, putting the drone up, doing everything, bringing it back, switching the battery out, all that good stuff. What happens if you have flight interruptions, which we did encounter a flight interruption. Yes. During the flight, we had to send the drone back up. It got duplicate pictures, so it's kind of nice that we hit some snags that we can show you how to work through some of that. Week 4, processing your data. So this is just one section because this actually takes a while. So this is all about processing the data, how to analyze the reports that you get out of there to see if you got good quality, how to do your skill reference check. We talk about file types, outputs, how to geo-reference it so it's fairly accurate on the globe, all that good stuff. So we give you several different data sets. We give you 2 different dates at the project site so you can compare them, and we're going to let you process a map of your home too. So you're going to have to process 3 maps during week 4, so we just give that only to you during that week. Week 5, analyzing your data. So we're going to show you how to do the analysis inside of Maps Made Easy. We're also going to show you how to export that file and put it into Google Earth Pro. It's a little bit better for doing analysis, and you can share with your clients. So we're going to walk you through both how to do area measurements, linear measurements, annotating maps, all that good stuff. We're also going to show you how to overlay some property data. So to get data from a property appraiser website, like this is something you could do, a shapefile, import it into Google Earth and overlay that county property data on top of the map you created so you can see which lots have what progress. So that's pretty cool. And we're going to show you report generation and product delivery. So how to write the reports for the client, how to deliver it to them, exporting it to them, all that good stuff. Then week 6, we do walkthrough start to finish of that whole, so that's the Chick-fil-A example. We do everything all over again, just so you can see it in another context. So flight planning, creating a flight plan, flying the mission, processing it, analyzing it, reporting it, and delivering it to the client. And then, last but not least, you are going to implement it on your own. With the final course assignment, you're going to have to go out, do all this on your own, and send us your reports. And if you do that, you get your course certificate. So that is week 6. All right, so that's the course in a nutshell right there. I kind of went through that quickly. That course is nearly $400 right now. It is $200 until, I think we're doing it until Monday. So if you go, there's a link. I can get the link later for you, but it should be in all the emails we've been sending. You can click that and you can get that. Of course, we sent an email out earlier today about it. But if you click that, you can sign up for the course. The cohort option, you have to check a box when you're checking out. It's $20 extra, just because there's extra admin costs on us to like oversee those groups and stuff. So a little nominal fee just to offset some of that cost for us. All right, so that is pretty quickly summarizing what's in the mapping course. We've been working on it for a very long time. Yes. And we're excited to bring this to you. So this is the fundamentals course. We're focused on basic mapping, all about photogrammetry, getting familiar with it. All of the software we're using is free. So there's no additional cost for software. We're using the free part, and it stays free. It's not like free trial. It'll stay free. And then we're going to release a pro course in several months. That's going to be with paid software, and that's more advanced things like 3D modeling and ground control points and all that stuff too. So that'll be coming later. All right, that was a lot of stuff. Let's get back to answering questions. If you have any questions about the course, you can throw them in there. I'll jump back in answering these questions I see here. Okay. When creating orthomosaics and 3D models, measuring and interpreting the data considered surveying. I think we answered this one a bit in the chat. I know some states get a little finicky about it. Like I've heard North Carolina gets a little touchy on it. I've never heard of a problem if you're basically just taking pictures, right? And you're saying, hey, I'm not making any claims to global accuracy. I'm not saying that, hey, this is your official property boundary. But if you're just taking a picture and saying, hey, from the corner of that wall to this pipe is 5 feet, I haven't seen most people consider that surveying.
Yes. But if your client wants surveyed, or if someone hired you to do the official survey, you cannot claim to be you are the surveyor and perform this method. You can use drone mapping that could be used for surveying. So you can get a licensed surveyor, or if you're a licensed surveyor, you can sign the report by yourself, or you can get with the licensed surveyor to make it an official survey.
Yeah, and Root's done that before. He's hired, I mean, I think we talked about that in that training. He's hired surveyors when the client wants a stamp survey. So this is a good one. We talk about this in the data acquisition fundamentals. Real quick, I gotta show you this right here. Hold on. So if you look right here, it's gonna be hard to see, but if you see the middle right here, how to handle changing ground elevations. We did a 10-minute video on this, so I'm gonna give you a little sneak peek. Oops, I'm gonna show that. I'm gonna hide that. So you can either do terrain awareness, where you're staying the same distance over the mountain the whole time, right, which is preferred. If you can't do the terrain awareness, you would, the best way to do is to split the job up into chunks. Mm-hmm. So do kind of like, if this is the mountain, right, you're doing some here, and some here, and then you're gonna, you would process all those images as one map. So that's a less preferred method, but you can do anything else to add on that route.
No, I think you explained it correctly. The preferred method, doing a mountain, actually, funny story, I was in California, and there is this mountain. It's amazing. It's in a city called Morro Bay. It's like a big rock in the middle of a city in the ocean, and I wanted to map that. So how we did that, what I realized, doing in the chunks was the best method to do that, because because it would, when the drone goes on the other side of the mountain, it would lose the signal. There's a lot more issues that you run into.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's good. Okay. I believe we addressed that with the 6 weeks, but again, if you're buying the course and you're not doing the cohorts, you can go through it as quickly as you want. What is your preferred method platform for delivering maps and models to your clients? Thanks, Adrian. Thanks, Jeff. I'll show you in the course, at least. There's ways to. We're going to show you how you can embed. So you can have your orthomosaic map on top of a Google Maps layer, and have your annotations and measurements on there, and you can embed that on your website. You can print stuff to PDF. I don't know, Root, why don't you talk about how you typically deliver your stuff?
So usually making sure what the client's needs are, but the preferred how we do it is usually whenever we create the orthomosaic, we overlay on the Google map and send them. Also send the orthomosaic, I believe it's called .ttf. We send that file directly to them. Also, if they wanna on AutoCAD, that we will teach in the advanced course, but AutoCAD, if some client wants in an AutoCAD, we can also import that into AutoCAD, QGIS, other different software. But mainly the easiest way and the free way to do it is do it on Google Earth Pro, and it makes it a lot easier to share and visualize.
Cool. Do you have a course syllabus? I think we shared that one already, but if you still need to see, or you want me to go back through anything, I'm happy to thumb back through that. Also, we sent out an email tonight that kind of breaks down what's in the course too, if you want to look at that. Is the drone mapping field saturated? I don't think so. There's not nearly as many people that know how to do this as there is who will be willing to take a picture of your house with Just think about it. To be able to take a real estate photo, the bar is a lot lower. If you know how to put the drone in the air, use some settings, and know some good angles, you got it. Not to say that it's quite that easy, but it's a little bit more common to master. People understand that that's a use more. A lot of people don't think of mapping, and sometimes the software, the whole process seems a little intimidating, or they just think, oh, I just take some pictures with a drone deploy and that's it. They don't realize there's a lot more depth to it. So
there might be some saturation in the very fundamentals of whenever it comes to like mapping field, but that definitely elevates your knowledge of getting those jobs. So for example, you can use mapping in almost everything when it comes to related to drones. So for example, using mapping for inspection, using mapping for inventory, using mapping for agriculture. There are so many avenues you can do once you get it. So it's another skill that you acquire that could help you set different from your competitors.
And here's the thing, even if it is like for instance real estate, a lot of people complain that real estate is saturated. I don't want any market where you can make money. People are going to say, "Oh, it's saturated," because if there's an opportunity to make money there, people are going to do that. But the thing is that just because people are trying to do that doesn't mean that you can't make money. Like I know people who make full-time incomes off of using their drone for real estate videos only, because they just are really good at networking. They've nailed down their process. They can do a lot of things really well and better than anyone else. So even if something is saturated, if you're good at business and you're good at your delivering a good product, you can still make pretty good money. So think about it. Photography, just in general, I think that's like, oh, that's so saturated, right? But there's wedding photographers out there who make tons of money. I have a friend. He only does wedding video, and he makes like 150K a year in Lakeland, and that's super saturated because there's people who are willing to shoot that on their cell phone or with whatever. But he has got people who really want what he has to offer, his style, his whatever, and he can still make a lot of money in that. So I'm just saying, it doesn't matter what the industry is. If you're good and you're good at business, you'll be fine. How low? Like 5 feet. I think this is when we were talking about flying low. You don't fly a drone 5 feet over the ground. I mean, I don't think you would do a mapping lower than maybe like 50 feet.
No.
Even that is pretty low. So, because I think there's some diminishing returns as the lower and lower you get your accuracy. It doesn't like double every time.
No.
You kind of have, yeah.
And also it captures the less data as it's lower. So you want to make sure you need to be at least 50 feet to do that.
Yeah, because think about it like a V. This is what the drone can see. So the closer you get to the ground, the less and less area is covered by that. So you have to take a ton more pictures. It gets pretty cumbersome. Is RTK or PPK necessary for accuracy if I have GCPs? I don't believe so, but I think it goes a lot faster. But again, we're going to show that in the pro course. But if you have GCPs, you're going to be going out there and having some type of ground station to get the GPS points for that anyways. Let's see. Aha, Adrian. It is. Maps Made Easy processing is free up to 1 gigapixel, and then they give you 500 promotional credits to use if your map goes over that amount. So for what we're going to do in the course, it's completely free, and for any small jobs, it is still free on Maps Made Easy. And if you want to do more, you can purchase just like the number of credits you need to do that specific mapping job if you have like a big job. So it's nice, you can kind of like pay per job if it's really big, but if it's small stuff, it's always free and does a pretty decent job. My drone is in the shop. Can I still do the cohort upgrade? Yeah, sure. We're the cohort, we're going to provide you all the data that we've collected, so you can still do all the processing with that. You can still make the reports, you can do all that stuff. The only thing you wouldn't be able to do is, one of the things we're asking you to do is say, hey, go out there, fly your drone at your house or your apartment or townhouse or whatever, and map that area so you can actually practice the data acquisition part. So you wouldn't be able to do that, obviously, but you can do that whenever you get your drone back. But you can do stuff with the data that we provide and the processing. So for sure. Yes, if you someone buy it now, take another date with the group. That's a good question. You could buy it now. You have lifetime access to the course, and yeah, I don't see any problem with that. When we do another cohort in the future, if you already have the course and you just want to jump in on the cohort option, yeah, that would be fine. Yeah. I didn't actually think of that. That's a good idea. Root. Thinking back, what is one mistake you made that you advise others not to do in starting a drone business? That's a good question.
That's a great question. There are many mistakes I have made. I would say when I was in the beginning, the one thing I did not realize, I thought I was providing a service. I had the drone, I had the equipment, I had the software, but I was not selling anything because, and it's very important to recognize this question, because it's sometimes we have something and we go to our client or potential client, just say, hey, this is what I can do, this is what I have. They might say, oh, this is amazing, this is cool, but it's not really going to turn into any dollars for you because you are not solving any problem just by providing your services. I think that's the mistake I made personally, but I quickly realized that when you stop problem, whatever your client having the pain, you pitch on that. Even if you're providing the service, if you just change your communication, if you just pay a little bit more attention to your client, you could get that contract, you could close that deal. So that's the mistakes I made, and I think it's very good for other people to learn from other people's mistake,
Yeah.
And so that's what I would say.
Yeah, just because you're so excited about having a drone and being able to do stuff, that's all you're thinking about is, hey, look at what I can do. That person could care less if you can fly a drone. They just want whatever their problem is, they want it solved. So if they're a realtor, they just want that house to sell so they can get a commission, right? You're just a means to that, or they just want to get another listing so they can get another house sold, right? So if they're recruiting you to get a sweet video, they're doing that. So a sweet video of the house, they're doing that so they can advertise that to other clients to get more listings. They don't necessarily care about I mean, they do, but they care about it to the extent that it's going to help them get more business, right? So you say, hey, I can do cool drone stuff. That's much less compelling than, hey, I'm going to make you a really sick marketing video that's going to get you a lot more listings because people are going to want that video. They're going to, oh, I do want that. Just like Root could have pitched that engineering company or that mining company and said, hey, I can get a drone out and do some cool 3D models of your equipment. They're going to be like, oh, that sounds cool, but instead you can say, hey, you know how it costs you $20,000 for every hour your equipment is down? How about I cut that time, by 4, and you guys can be up running. They're like, oh, we do, that's gonna make me look good to my boss. So like we were saying, you gotta hone in on what they care about, what's their pain. So sorry to belabor that point, but Eric, remember they just connected now, it'll be a recording. Yes, this is on YouTube Live. It'll stay on YouTube. It'll stay on our YouTube channel, and it's also on Facebook Live. So you can go back to our YouTube channel or Facebook page and find this video and watch it back. Good question. Cohort portion begins. We were going to start it immediately when they were like, wait a minute, Christmas, New Year's, people are going to be gone. So you can sign up now. You can get in the course. We're launching the cohort starts the first full week of January and will run until I think week 6 ends February 11th when I looked right around there. So first full week of February after New Year's is done, so you can get all your jitters out and hit your New Year's resolution. Have you imported maps into SketchUp?
Yes, SketchUp is actually a very good service to host your maps. It's a little paid subscription, but it's a great way to upload your ortho mosaics and 3D model in SketchUp, and very easy to share with your clients or embed to your website. So thank you for asking that question. That's very important.
Cool. When will the Pro course come out and how much will it cost? So we just finished the fundamentals course. Pro course is as fast as we can film it, edit it, and get it live with good quality. I don't want to commit to a specific date. I would love for it to be live in like the next 2 months, but we'll just have to see how it goes. But that would be my goal. How much will it cost? I'm not totally sure yet. We'll have to see. I imagine it'll be around the same price as the fundamentals course, but I'm not sure. Because really, if you're brand new to drone mapping, they're meant to be taken like from the very beginning of the fundamentals course all the way through the end of the pro course. We just know some people are like, I don't necessarily need to dive into 3D modeling and all these crazy AutoCAD things yet, software. Because when we did the live course, people were like, whoa, this software costs a ton of money and I'm not ready for this. So we're like, all right, let's split it up. Basic course, all free software, just the fundamentals so people can get up to speed. But if you already know the fundamentals of mapping, you just want to take the pro course, we don't want to waste people's time. So we just gave them 2 options. If you're new, you can go start to finish. If you go in the pro course, though, you need to know everything that's in the fundamentals course because we're not going to cover it again in the pro course. Do you prefer Drone Deploy or another software app?
For flight planning, I do prefer Drone Deploy just because it has the web portal to plan your flights on the computer device than compared to Pix4D that you have to do on the iPad or your mobile device. But Drone Deploy is very good. For processing, I do prefer Pix4D because it has the Pix4D desktop version that you can do offline, doing locally. Sometimes your clients do want you to process your data locally, but most of the time Drone Deploy and Pix4D online version is amazing. It's actually better than the desktop version.
Cool. Do you need to be certified in mapping or is your course acceptable? No, I mean, if you want to sign off on surveys, you need to be a licensed surveyor. That's a bit more of a hurdle. But no, there's no official mapping certification that's recognized by like a board or per se. So it's just the knowledge that you have that you can bring to your clients. So our course, I think, obviously I'm biased, is a great start to that, and we've worked really hard on it to make it a really good course for you guys. So hopefully it helps. When you provide the pro mapping course, we already talked about that, hopefully in a few months, and then and go over using AutoCAD. Yeah, this is the same exact question, sorry. But yeah, we will talk about AutoCAD to the extent of how you can get your maps in there. It's not going to be like AutoCAD's pretty huge. It's not like an engineering class, but we'll cover it to an extent. Most pilots know how to make a map, but most potential clients don't know how it can help them. Mm-hmm. Yes, that's so true. Finding that application for the map you can make to solve a problem they have is the key. I agree. I don't think that's a question as much as a comment, but very good comment, Freddie. Great session. So much information. Yeah, no, thanks. Appreciate it. Feels like a tool. Exactly. Yep. Can you address rolling shutter and how it affects accuracy? At what scale or level of accuracy is a mechanical shutter necessary? Okay, so mechanical shutter and the rolling shutter. So what happens with the shutter is an electronic shutter, a global shutter takes the picture all at once. Boom, all the pixels fire at the same time, and it captures that data all at once. It's like kind of like instantaneous. Rolling shutter, it captures it pixel at a time, and it goes like in a row like this. So you're thinking if the drone is moving and it's firing one pixel at a time, if you're moving really quickly, there's a chance that your image would be blurred or it would be stretched a little bit. So here's the thing, the drones that are coming out now, the rolling shutter or the electronic shutter fires so fast, and the software algorithms for Pix4D and Drone Deploy, if you look this up and look into them, they already have in their algorithms things to look for that if there's an issue and correct for it automatically. So I've never seen haven't had an issue with rolling shutter in any of my maps. I don't know if you have Root, but I did the math on it on a drone with a rolling shutter, and if you're at like 100 feet and you're moving 20 miles an hour, which is about as fast as you would map anyways, by the time the picture finishes being taken, the drone has moved like a half of a centimeter. So, I mean, the drone's moved this much by the time the drone's finished taking the picture going at like 20 miles an hour. So, it's not, I haven't seen it as a concern, but I know a lot of people like to talk about it. I hope that helps, Jeff. What are the best drones used for mapping, and can a smart controller be used?
So the one drone that I do recommend is Phantom 4 Pro, DJI Phantom 4 Pro, because it has such a great camera, 20 megapixel, it has the mechanical shutter. It's just such an amazing machine for mapping. But I say if you can start with whatever you have. For example, if you have Mavic, start with that. Don't let that discourage you from starting or learning the mapping. It's not going to make the huge difference, but if, for example, once you start getting those jobs, you can afford to get the Phantom 4 Pro. Smart controllers are a little bit out of my reach because we use a lot of other third-party apps we use on an iPad, so we don't have much experience with the smart controller, but I think there's some issue with when it comes to flight planning.
There's some. I can't remember. You have to check like Drone Deploy and Pix4D Capture to see if they're compatible on I think you're probably talking about the Crystal Sky controller. I know sometimes they're not compatible, so I would just double check to see if it is. Last time I checked, I don't think it was though, which is kind of a bummer. The cheapest drone to use for mapping, I would say probably a used Mavic Air original. It's not going to give you the best quality, but and we compare this in the course for you. We do one flight with a Mavic Air and another flight with a Mavic Air 2, so like stepping it up, and even though they're both 12 megapixel cameras, the Mavic Air 2 sensor is bigger and just nicer, so you can see the difference in quality, but the map still works with the Mavic Air. I use Mavic Air. So Corey, what sets your class or training apart from other courses? Well, aside from the fact that we have Root, who absolutely dominates in mapping all day long, no, I'm just kidding, but I don't know, I haven't taken mapping courses from other drone service providers, so I can't give you like a direct comparison. I can tell you the things I like about our course. Like I said, Root teaches from like a real world perspective. We do stuff with production. We teach with iPads, and in studio you can use nice cameras to make it nice for you. And we really try to break down every single thing from start to finish, from like nothing about mapping, explaining everything in detail, showing diagrams, illustrations, getting out in the field. We have assignments where you practice it. Because I know if you're just watching a video, it's just like in one ear and out the other. So at the end of every section, we have assignments for you. Okay, go do this, take what you learned in this video and apply it, do these assignments, process this data, go, you're actually going out and utilizing it as you're learning, so that way it sticks and makes sense. And I don't know of any other training that does the cohort model like we're doing, where even though it's an online training, you're going to be with a small group in real time going through it with them, and you can network with them. You guys are gonna have calls, you're gonna become buddies. Even when the course is over, you're gonna be talking to each other saying, hey, do you guys know how to do this? I've been through a lot of coaching groups in my business time, and I still reach out to people from groups I was a part of years ago to ask them questions about things. So that's probably one of the most invaluable parts is the groups, I think. I don't know, why would you say the courses are good?
Because we teach from a real life experience, and not only we just teach you like this is like a tutorial. It's much more the tutorial, how to actually figure out how to solve those problems, kind of broaden your perspective,
Right. I'm a pro using Sketchfab and reality capture for making state-of-the-art 3D models. Sick. I don't know, Parker. It depends. If you know a lot about like photogrammetry and stuff, if you're already like a photogrammetry pro and you're using drones and stuff, then you're probably going to know. You're not doing any 3D modeling in this. That's for the pro course. This is all about like just 2D, the fundamentals of mapping. You're welcome to sign up, and if you get in there and you're like, hey, I already know everything in this course, we're happy to give you a refund. We don't want you to have a course that's worthless to you. So just let us know, and we do that if you'd like. Rolling shutter is only a problem at high speeds. Yeah, high speeds and low light. Sometimes if it's low light, your shutter stays open longer, so that can happen. 2 to 4 miles an hour. You're gonna be going through a lot of batteries, only going 2 to 4 miles an hour with your drone flight. All right. Cool. All right. I think that's all of our questions for the most part. If you have any other questions, fire away. In the meantime, if you guys are wanting to get in the map course, let me grab the link for you in case you want to jump in there. Hold on. Here you go. Copy, paste. So I'm posting this comment in both. If you're wanting to jump in, that is the link for the $200 off deal. The promo code is Pocket Square because every single day Root shows up to this office with a suit and a Pocket Square. I'm actually amazed right now that he doesn't have a Pocket Square.
It's late at night.
It's 8 o'clock at night here, so he doesn't have a Pocket Square, but normally he does. He's kind of ruining my promo code joke with his attire right now, but that's it. Happy to answer more questions. Would mapping be used in a city like Chicago? You'd have to worry about airspace authorization, but yeah, anywhere where you need to measure something or you need data on something or any type of geospatial stuff.
Absolutely, yes.
Or a 3D model of a building. Again, we're not getting 3D modeling in this, but if they're building something, construction, whatever, and they want to measure stuff, 3D modeling for sure. Freddie, yes, it was originally through Friday, but since the first webinar had glitches and stuff and people were asking questions, we're like, yeah, let's just bump it to Monday so people don't get squeezed out. So yeah, through Monday at midnight Eastern time, we'll have this replay that will be live on YouTube. We'll be sending out some more videos. Actually, we're going to send out tomorrow, I believe, we're going to send out some free lessons so you can get in the course, you can see what it's like. We'll give a couple sample lessons for free if you want to go watch a few and see what it's like and see if it's something that you think would be beneficial and enjoy. Didn't know. Oh, what's up, Robert? This is Robert Nix. Yeah. How's it going, man?
What's up, Robert?
Yeah, Robert, Cohort, sure thing. Just email support at dronelaunchacademy.com. Tell Scott that you wanted to sign up for the cohort, and he'll get you squared away. Yeah, there you go. Yes, Root does look professional. He always looks professional.
you.
I've got a collared shirt on today, guys. Nobody's commented on that. I mean, come on. I'm trying to dress up for you guys. I knew Root was going to be here. I was like, oh, man, I got to throw that collared shirt on. Thanks. Yeah, no, I love doing these. I know Root likes getting on here and sharing his wisdom.
It's great. I love the conversations. I love the feedback. I love the part where people get to ask me. I actually, by answering those questions, I learn a lot. So thank you very much.
You know, that's one thing I love about Root. When I asked him to do this, he just loves helping people. You know, a lot of people, they'll be like, well, I don't want to tell anyone my secrets because they're afraid people are going to move in on their territory, or, you know, they get nervous about that. So Root's like, oh, I just want to help as many people as possible. And it was hilarious because I think I mentioned it in the live call. We did this class, Root taught it, and then people learned how to do mapping. And then he's like, I need some people to go capture data for me and process some maps of different communities for like roof inspection stuff. And he had like 4 people from the course that we taught start doing mapping work for him. So it's just funny. So I'm not saying that this course is a feeder for Root to hire you, but your chances are much better if you live in the Southeast or anywhere. I don't know if you can get mapping jobs other places. Root's worked in California and
25 different states, but yeah.
25 different, yeah.
Yes.
So you want to know what's different about our course? We have our instructor Root who's worked in 25 different states. But no, so I thought that was pretty cool. All right, thanks guys. Yeah, I'm gonna put these up here. All right, I look professional. Thank you,
Absolutely.
Parker. I appreciate that. See, that's what I like to see. Thank you for redoing the webinar. You missed the first one. Okay, good. Yeah, Josh, you're probably better off that you missed the first one because we were in this like the room for some reason. The lights weren't working right.
We were in a studio.
We were in a studio, but
yes.
the like half the lights went out, and then it cut off like mid-session. So this software that we used before, I'm not going to throw them under the rug, but let's just say we won't be using that live streaming platform again. So, but you're welcome. I enjoy doing this. Would you need any other attachments on your drone to do mapping? No, just your camera. Unless you're doing like thermal mapping, you need a thermal camera, but or you're doing multispectral stuff. But no, it's just your camera. Because really all mapping is, it's just a bunch of photos. You just take hundreds of photos, typically hundreds, maybe sometimes less, sometimes more, and then you throw in software that puts it all together and allows you to do analysis on it. So it's just that process of knowing how to get accurate stuff depending on what you're looking for. No ND filters, because you're taking pictures. ND filters are really for video, so you can control shutter speed, but typically you don't need ND filters on mapping. Hands-on training with them. Yeah, again, we talked about doing some hands-on training here in Florida in 2022. We have a pretty big office here. We got like big rooms, like not conference rooms, but like a
big assembly room.
Assembly room, like presentation hall. So we thought about getting some people down here for like a 3-day, just like knock it all out in 3 days, hands-on. We'll do it in person. So if you, I don't know if you guys want that, just let me know and we can make it happen. You guys are in charge, right? We just make stuff that students and our audience wants, right? So the only reason we made a mapping course is because I was tired of hearing for the 95th millionth time, hey, can you guys please make a mapping course? I want to know about mapping. And so when me and Root became friends, I was like, dude, you have got to help me make a mapping course. Because that's all people talk about. So if you guys really want in person, we haven't done in person yet, but we could make that happen. Best speed of a drone to get the best photos and video footage. I don't know about video. If you're doing like cinematography, it just depends on what you're going for. But for mapping, in low light, go slower. But normally you can go about 15, 20 miles an hour, I think. I mean, maybe go faster depending on what you're using. But the problem is if you go too slow, you'll eat through a ton of batteries and your mission will take forever. But 11 miles an hour, sure.
That's very good, yes.
I need a full replay. This will be on our YouTube channel. So it's a live video. So go hunt around YouTube. And yeah, once it processes, it'll just be there as a video. You can watch previous lives. All right, I think that's another vote for the in-person. Another one for in-person. Dang. All right, sweet. I'm glad you signed up. Have you tried this software that uses video instead of pics for mapping? And I'm like, I have not.
We have not.
That's interesting, though.
Very interesting.
I thought that could happen because really all video is just a bunch of pictures. I would just guess you're capturing a lot more data than you need. And I wonder if the resolution is as good, but
Never heard of that,
haven't
but
done it.
very interesting to
I
think about.
do know. I think it's either a drone deploy or Pix4D thing. At least for the handheld camera, you can like, you can like scan something with a video, and it starts to turn that into like a 3D model. So that's cool.
Interesting.
Is it possible to capture accurate actual location without survey base station and rovers to tag your GCPs?
There are some ways you can do with your phone. They are very accurate, but not as accurate as the survey grade equipment, the professional equipment. So
and
you do lose some of the accuracy.
Real quick too, I'm gonna get in here. All right, I'm gonna turn your hot thing off so I can see. Right here, so in processing your data, we have 3 lessons on manual georeferencing. So putting geotags in and getting your reference coordinates. So this is, let me turn that off, sorry. We're not saying, oh, hey, this is gonna be survey grade accuracy, but when your map processes, at least in Maps Made Easy, it tries to pin it on the globe or Google Maps base layer as best it can, but sometimes it's off. In the course, you'll see it's off by like 50 feet. So the relative accuracy is good, but how it adjusted it on the base layer was off. But we show you how to adjust for that. And again, you're just using the coordinates from within the Google Maps base layer. You're not out there with the actual rover, measuring and stuff. But at least it's going to help you line up so that every time you fly a progression like map, those will stack on top of each other correctly, and you can check them on and off and see how things have shrunk or grown or changed without the map like jumping all over the place. So it's kind of a loose georeferencing, not any survey grade, but just more for visual references and to comparison of different layers. So cool. Any other questions? Going once, going twice. We're going on an hour and 20 minutes here. You guys have been a lively crew.
Great session today.
UGCS. I don't know. That's just the name of the company. I don't know what
it's a name of the UGCS is a name of a software by SPH
Engineering.
SPH Engineering. They're based out of, I believe, I'm not sure, some European country. But it's a ground flight planning software, which is amazing. We have used it personally to do very detailed flight planning. Whenever we do a LiDAR mission, you have to follow certain patterns in the air to calibrate the equipment, and that's when we use UGCS. But for what we're doing right now, the drone deploy is pretty good for flight planning.
If you're interested in checking that out. But yeah, we're not using that. We're using drone deploy. And once you learn how to use one flight plane or like automated flight planning tool, you can really use any of them. They're going to ask you, what do you want for your front overlap, side overlap, speed, altitude, what's your camera. A lot of times it'll auto detect it once it turns on, but if you're trying to plan, you put your planning camera in there. They're going to ask you for what kind of grid, single grid, double grid, the crosshatch. They're going to ask you for your camera angle, nadir or nadir, straight down, oblique, angled, all that stuff. And we'll walk through all of those settings in the course to know like when you should use what, and when you're thinking through, okay, here's my mission, here's what I'm planning for, here's the settings I need. We're going to teach you how to think about that and process that, so you're not just randomly guessing every time. Union Grove Christian School. Here, that's a good one. Cool. All right. Well, if there are any more questions, thank you so much for joining us, staying late. Yeah, I don't know. If there's anything else, let me know. Shoot us an email. My email is david@dronelaunchacademy.com. If you want a faster response, you can email support@dronelaunchacademy.com. And our guy Scott is there. He's our support guy. He actually has his own drone service business. So he's a Part 107 pilot. He does this stuff. He goes out and flies missions. He works for us part-time. So he's great at answering questions. And I'm happy to try to answer too, if I can. There we go. There's my video mapping mode. Reality capture has that option for video. Okay, maybe that's what it was. Only is a percentage of the framed, even though possible, only shooting raw interview. Okay, interesting. Cool. Thank you, Parker. I thought it was reality capture.
I definitely need to look into it.
Yeah, that's cool.
Very interesting.
See, we're learning on this webinar too.
Thank you, guys.
Coupon code for the cohort. I think when you go to check out, there's just an option for, let me see if I can find this here. So once you check out, on the next page, I think you can check an option for the cohort. If it doesn't work, just sign up for the regular course and then email support, and then they get you hooked up with the cohort thing. I was going to try to do it, but it's going to make me buy the course first to show you the screen. Have you done any interior mapping?
We have not done any. I think that's when the Matterport and other equipment comes in. But
yeah, Matterport is for like the 3D tours. I don't know if it does in Map, but I know you can do like with some of the Pix4D tools, like they were talking about with reality capture.
yes, there is another Pix4D software called Pix4D Inspect that allows you to do Pix4D scan. I think that allows your phone to use it as a mapping camera to make internal. And also the newer iPad with the LiDAR, they do some internal mapping.
Drone Deploy does some internal stuff too. I think they're realizing that they need to be like a inside and out tool. So, especially for like, you know, one of the projects we were doing, they were talking about how they go and they take pictures of the inside of their building and send it to their architects in like Boston or wherever they were, because they couldn't come down because of COVID. Mavic 3 or Phantom 4 Pro. I would probably go Phantom 4 Pro just because the Mavic 3 actually doesn't have any higher resolution or megapixels for cameras, I mean for photographs, than the Phantom 4 Pro, and it's actually not even set up with Drone Deploy yet. If you're going to be doing video stuff, if you're doing like cinematography or commercial video or video production, Mavic 3 is awesome, but otherwise probably just fine going with the Phantom 4 Pro. Cool. All right, everyone. Again, if you need anything, feel free to shoot us a message. Thank you so much for coming. Yeah, love doing these. Appreciate everyone being so lively in the chat. And yeah, take care. Have a good one.
Good night.